Hi, welcome to Chad's Silversmithing. First, thanks for coming to my channel. I appreciate you visiting. It really helps get my channel out there if you'd hit the like button before you leave. So if you wouldn't mind doing that, I'd appreciate that. Thank you so much. I wanted to thank my subscribers. I just passed 3,500 subscribers, which is amazing, awesome. I appreciate all the wonderful comments that you guys have been giving me, and it's very flattering, some of the things you say to me, and that's very nice. Thank you. I also wanted to thank my patrons over on Patreon. They're kind of my paying for my premium content over there, and we have a couple of exclusive tutorials every month over there. I just released one this morning on making a particular type of bracelet, and we have a really nice community over there. There's a Discord server where we can share ideas and pictures of what we're making and things like that. So if you're interested in that, you might want to check out the video description. There's a link there. There's also a link to my website, a place where you can tip me if you appreciate my content but don't want to commit to a Patreon thing. And there's even a merch store if you just absolutely feel like you need a coffee cup with my face on it. You know, who wouldn't want that, really? So, but today's project is, I'm going to show you how to make some different kinds of see-through bands, I'm going to call them, because I don't know what else to call them, but I've been making them for years, and I'll show you 3 different variations. They're pretty good sellers. People seem to like them a lot, and they're kind of fun to make too. So, and they're good pick soldering practice if you're into learning how to do that. So let's get started. The materials you'll need for these guys, you need, for the outside edges of the rings, you're going to either use 14 gauge square or 14 gauge round. Round is a little bit easier to use in some ways because it's easier to tell when it's perfectly straight because it'll roll on the table if you roll it. Square has a tendency to twist when you bend it, and that's always something you got to kind of compensate for as you're shaping it. I think overall they look a little cleaner and nicer with the square wire, but I also like them with round wire, so it's kind of just a matter of taste. But I'm going to make some variations. I'll do the first one here with square wire. And this is probably my favorite variation that I found so far. So the materials are 14 gauge square or round wire, 18 gauge round wire for the designs on the inside, and that's pretty much it. You could use finer wire like 20 gauge if you wanted some extra detailed designs, or you're trying to do really tiny kind of things. 18 might not have the definition that you want for that. I generally just do abstract patterns between them, but there's a couple I found that I like the best. So, as always, I'm using hard silver sheet solder. Looks like I need to get myself a new piece pretty soon here. And My-T-Flux from Rio Grande, which is a spray-on flux. So, first step I'm going to do is I'm going to straighten these 2 wires. I actually cut these to be about a size 8, if I remember right, just to save some time. Cut them out again. Like I said, it's 14 gauge square. I like to, when I'm straightening these kind of wires, I like to hold them with these flat nose pliers and just use my fingers to kind of straighten things. I tend to mess up the wires a lot less if I do that. Don't actually bend with the pliers, but just use the pliers for leverage, kind of. Square wire is fun because you get it straight in one dimension, and then you turn it like that, and then it's not straight in that one anymore, so you got to kind of keep going back and forth. I'm not going to worry too much about the length of those right now, or the exact size, because I'm going to make the pattern and then we'll just stop at where we run out of room, and we'll get pretty close to an 8 or a 7.5, somewhere in there. So the one I'm going to do requires me to make a whole bunch of circles and then cut semicircles. So I need to find something about the right size for what I'm looking for. And let's see. Use a bail making pliers, I guess. It's got a lot of options on it. Let's do that maybe. Let's try this size and see how it looks. I actually think that's about the size that I want to do. So I'm gonna spool this up on that one level here and make a spring out of this 18 gauge wire. I'm going to start by, I use my these Xeron cutters for cutting wire, and they cut relatively flush on one side. So when I cut a ring off of here, if I want both sides to be kind of flat where they come together, I'll cut with the side that cuts flat towards that way, and then when I cut it into the next ring in here, I'll flip it around so the flat side's facing me, and I get a relatively flat edge. Okay, so these ones require me to cut them into, actually I'm going to line them back up so they're flat again. That's just kind of nice to have them flat, or flat-ish I should say. If you wanted to be fancy, you could use a saw for this, I suppose, but I'm just going to kind of cut them in half, and I'm going to kind of eyeball them. I suppose the neater you do these, the neater your final pattern will be, but you can usually get it pretty close. Just going to make sure that these all, because it cut a beveled cut on one side on each of these, I'm going to have to file it just a little bit to make it kind of smoother. These also make for kind of nice, you know, if you want to change up the kind of band you're putting on a ring that has a shank and a head. If you want to have a different kind of shank, this might be a way to change that up a little bit. I put stones on these occasionally. You could use a miter vise if you wanted to do this part. I'm just kind of used to doing it this way. Okay, you can see I got some inconsistencies here, but let's see how important it is. So what I'm going to do basically is this kind of a pattern like that. Where these two join in the middle. And just keep going all the way down the ring. And it makes for a kind of a pleasing pattern, I think. It's going to be on the inside of this here like this. Once that's all soldered together, it looks pretty slick. So, but I need to get these to be a little more consistent. So some of them are really tall, like this one's really too big. So I can just snip a little bit off of him, get him a little bit closer in size. Okay, I think it's time to start looking for a flattish spot on my pad here. Okay. It's been a while since I made this particular one, so I'm going to do it a little cautiously so I don't screw it up too bad. Okay, probably the easiest way to do this would be to do them one side at a time. We'll go like this. Okay, I think let's start by soldering those ones on there, and then we'll go from there. I'm going to use very small pieces of solder. So let's see. You can position these ones at the joins wherever if you want to. However, I have found over time that once I mastered PIC soldering, it made things go so much faster, and I encourage you to learn how to do this because it really does speed things up. Okay, a couple of different ways you could do this one. You could solder them the same way I just did on this one over here, but I think let's try just placing them individually like this. Make sure we got a pretty flat spot here. The idea is I want to preserve these nice little cavities in between here so none of them fill in. So I'm going to do this one in a couple of stages, I think. So I'll dribble a little flux on there. I'm going to cut a few more pieces of solder. Sometimes there's enough solder on the end there for them to just solder by themselves. So I'm going to keep adding some more, and I'm going to cut a few more pieces of solder again. I think let's cool him off. So we can place a couple of more strategically here at the ends. And these ends, we're going to kind of have to overlap them. So we'll have to see what kind of trickery we can do here. I'm going to do those two, and then we'll see. Make sure we're pretty straight here. See if we can't solder on the other side of this thing. That's not very straight anymore, or never was. That'll work. Just need to pick solder all the way along there. I think we'll be good. These look a little rough when you're making them, but when you're done, I think they look amazing. One of these is being a booger. There we go. In order to figure out how to hook these ends together, wrap it around the ring mandrel. Okay, now we can kind of figure out how these need to interlock and where we need to cut them off at. Push this over the top of it. See there, we want it to kind of go like that. We're going to need to file this flat right there. File that flat. Cut this off there. Probably file the one under here flat and cut that off there. So. Okay, well now we're going to see how close we are, because these, I have to kind of bend them towards each other like that. It's pretty close if I can get them to stay there like that. Sometimes if you push it past, pull it back to where it just pops into place like that. Kind of push them together. And amazingly, my little inner wires here lined up pretty good. So really, if I'm doing this busy of a pattern, I'm going to need to solder here, 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 and here. I'm going to do a little bit more just to make sure that there's a seam over there. Felt like there might not be a seam there. It's great. Okay. So I'm going to let that pickle, and then we'll clean it up, and I'll show you the final result, as well as some variations. Alright, so here's the one I just finished. See, I still got some polishing compound in the little nooks and crannies I need to get out of there. But I'm pleased with the way it came out. It's got a nice pattern. I'll clean it up more, put a picture at the end of the video. But the other variations, on one of them, I just did little scrolls. And that's this one here. People seem to like those a lot. And another one, I just picked some random shapes. I did a circle and a little kind of just a steep angle piece like that. And I just, oops, that's not the right one. And I just alternated them. There's a lot of different variations you can do on these. I could visualize doing little peace signs. There's someone's name and letters. You could do an important date and a Roman numeral or something. All sorts of fun things you could do with these. So, you know, consider learning how to pick solder. If you've never heard of pick soldering, or if you want to know more about it, wow, I have really bad polishing here. I'll put a link up there to my pick soldering video. So yeah, that's a very useful skill, and you know, I made all 3 of these in one afternoon, so pretty quick to make once you learn how to pick solder. All right, I hope you enjoyed that. Okay, well, that was 3 different variations of the see-through rings. I hope you enjoyed those. Make sure to hit the like button before you head out today, and why don't you watch another video or 2? I have 160 plus videos now on my channel. Most of them are techniques or tips. There's both beginner level and some relatively advanced stuff. So no matter what your skill level, there might be something here you can find. So check it out. And I'd love to have you subscribe. Also, don't forget, if you're interested in checking out any of the other links, like my Patreon or my website or my merch store, check out the video description for those links. So thanks again for watching. I hope you have a wonderful day. Happy silversmithing. Take care.